Welcome everyone to an incredibly special gathering that's close to our hearts here at Ribbon. This is Voices of Resilience, narratives of Black women living and aging with HIV. I'm Shauna Cooper, the Director of Programs at Ribbon, where our mission is more than just words. It's action to end racial and social disparities that impact vulnerable communities, especially those affected by chronic health conditions like HIV. Today's conversation is critical. It's about bringing to light the stories that often go unheard, about acknowledging the strength, challenges, and undying spirit of resilience in Black women living with HIV. We're here to bridge gaps, to build understanding, and most importantly, to spark change. With us, we have an extraordinary panel of women who embody courage, wisdom, and hope. They're here not to just share their stories, but inspire us all to take action, to listen, and to learn. Before we delve into our discussion, I would like to give each of our panelists the opportunity to introduce themselves. This moment is about their voices, their truths. So without further ado, let's meet our panelists. If you would, please, Ms. Jen.
Hi, good day to everyone. My name is Jen Lothridge. I am the Aging and Research Program Supervisor at Christie's Place in San Diego, California.
Tia.
Hi, I am Tia Francis, one of the founders of It's Possible Incorporated, an agency that focuses on women's total wellness and health and well-being, newly 501c3 as of August last year, and I'm happy to be here.
Congratulations. Mansana. While we're waiting on Mansana, T, if you could, please.
Hello, sorry about that. I was having technical difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear me? Okay. Hello,
Yes.
everyone. Greetings from Statesboro, Georgia. I am Manzana Bryant, and I am the owner and founder of T2Q Trans Quantum Questioning, which at that we have focused on HIV and AIDS, along with resilience and trustworthy in the trans community, Latinx community, and non-binary individuals.
Wonderful. T? You're muted.
My name is Miss Green. I am a nurse of 26 years, a family nurse practitioner and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, as well as a person and woman living with HIV for the last 12 years. I am also a member of HMM Indiana. I'm the state lead for PWN, and I'm also a member and scholar of the Association of Nurses in AIDS Care, and run an online, lead an online positive women's support group.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Andrea?
My name is Andrea George, and I have been living with HIV for 31 years. And I've done a lot of things over the years, which you'll find out as we go along.
All right, thank you so much for your introductions. It's an honor to share this space with you today. So I'm going to start off with Andrea. As we embark on today's dialogue, it's vital to acknowledge why we're here. Across the globe, Black women living with HIV face unique challenges that stem from a complex intersection of racism, sexism, and stigma-related that's associated with their diagnosis. Despite these hurdles, the stories of our panelists are beacons of hope and resilience. So Andrea, can you share more about your personal journey with HIV, particularly any triumphs or challenges you face as a Black woman, whether healthcare, community, and support network? Could you shed some light on that, please?
Okay, I've been positive for 31 years. I've had a child while I was HIV positive. She is now 27 years old and negative. I've gone through clinical trials over the years and been to many doctors, providers. I've lived in 3 states and I've had healthcare in all 3 states. New York is my original home. That's where I got my first diagnosis in 1993. And I had a case manager tell me that I should never have any children because they would be positive. As time went on and the years went on and we got medication, I found out that I could have a child, and I did. And I moved from New York where I got my best care, and I moved to Michigan. In Michigan, I mean, it was okay. I had a case manager sort of similar to New York, but not as intensive service. I'm now in Virginia, and there are barely any services. There was a time when I first moved here, I've been here for 2 years. I applied to ADAP. I thought that I had my services in place, and I wound up getting a bill for $2,000 for going to the doctor. Then I found out that my medication was going to cost me $6,000. So I went without medication for about 7 months, I'd say, until I got a job and got my services. But it just showed me how, depending on your state, the services that you can get and what you can't get. And nobody here in Virginia has reached out, said, how are you? No doctors, no case managers. It's just been really different. And because I can advocate for myself, it just makes me wonder about the people who can't. Are they living? Are they dying? I don't know. It's just really bad here. And my goal is to actually start a service here. Something, support group, anything where I can bring some people in and we can get some real services in Newport News, Virginia.
Thank you for sharing that, Andrea. I like that you shared how you've come from a place where you have had more comprehensive services, a stronger support system, and now you find yourself in a place where that's not necessarily the case, but as opposed to just sitting by and going with the status quo, you actually want to do something about it. So kudos to you, and just want to share that we acknowledge your efforts, we applaud your efforts, and we like to keep in touch as to how things are going with you as you move to make these things happen. And if we can be of any support, just let us know. Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to discuss any trials or tribulations related to your experience with healthcare, community, and support networks before we move on to the next question? Ms. Green?
Yes, I would say, you know, before even becoming a woman who is living with HIV, I was still a Black woman. So there comes issues with being Black, a Black woman, way before that. So when I did get HIV, it compounded the issues that I already had, the intersectionality of the issues that we already have. In my situation, I was badly mistreated. I had lung failure when I was diagnosed with HIV at the same time. And I had a provider who was very nasty, very condescending to me. I was in Detroit at the time, and I actually told them, because me working in healthcare myself, I actually used to work for that hospital, and I asked them for the medical director, the lead nurse. And she came in and I said, I worked at this hospital. I said, this one, how the doctor had been treating me. And I said, in nicer words, get her the hell out of my room. And I was so pissed off. And I said, get me all Black doctors. And being in Detroit, I know if I was somewhere else, they wouldn't have done it, but they did that. And actually, two of those doctors were two Black doctors I used to work for. And those doctors, I feel like I'm here because of those doctors. Representation is important. One of my doctors is the cousin of Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, Dr. Clay. He literally would come in the room after his shift, after meeting with me, and sit in there for an hour to 2 hours and give me encouragement. I used to work with him. He was in a fire and he explained his story to me, and he said, you're going to get out of that bed and you're going to go back in school, because I was in graduate school at the time. You're going to go back and you're going to do just like I did. He said, bandaged up and everything. I returned back to school and became a doctor, and you're going to do the same thing. So representation is important. Those doctors that are Black and from our own community coming and talking to us, showing that they care, giving us the encouragement. This is what we need. So those are some of the things and challenges that I faced, as well as I would add, one of my doctors also told me, which kept me in hiding, you're a nurse, you should have knew better. And that was not one of my Black doctors. That was another white doctor. And so that kept me in hiding too, and questioning what could I have done. Or maybe I wasn't as smart as I thought I would, but after all these years, I've come to the conclusion there's nothing else I could have done. We're just predisposed, being Black women, to these situations.
Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Green. Although not one of the questions, I'm going to follow up with a question for you. Given that, how does that play into your resilience today?
Is that
How
to
do
me?
you define resilience, and how does that play into your ability to be resilient?
That's to me, Shauna? That question is to me, Shauna? Okay. Resilience. I would say, and I've told people before, it's taking the stones and the bricks that have been thrown at me, all the obstacles that have been thrown at me to stop me from my power as a Black woman, my status, my everything that makes me great. We have so many things against us, barriers, obstacles, people against us, people who don't want to see us succeed, both for being women and both for being Black. And so I say, take those stones and those bricks, and I built walls and built buildings with them, and build a city with them.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay. So, Ms. Jen, in your experience, how do the intersecting stigmas of race, gender identity, and HIV status impact your access, or people that you are knowledgeable of, access to quality healthcare and support? And some of these themes have been introduced or discussed in previous responses, but I would like to hear from you.
Thank you for that question. How the importance, in my experience, so first of all, I am an individual that received my HIV diagnosis 5 years ago. So I'm a baby making it way through this journey. And for me at this time, if there is any difficulties that I have experienced within the healthcare system, I haven't noticed it yet. So I hesitate to say I haven't experienced it, but maybe I just haven't noticed it because I don't really pay attention to stuff like that unless it's blatant in my face. However, with the support, that can be a challenge because, again, the difficulty of being comfortable to express oneself and do the D word, and you guys are going to ask me what the D word is. But instead of giving the D word, I'm going to share my information because sharing is caring, right? So with my support, family-wise, I really have kept my status to myself up until literally this weekend while at Age Watch during my 53rd birthday. So being able to share and be comfortable with my status, it helps me to lower the volume of stigma. And with the people that I receive support from, making it easier for me to open up and share my information. And the reason why I use share is because I'm convinced that share is a much better word than the D word. D word is connected to negativity. If you all are following me, thank you. And so sharing, and as I think about it, stigma has a real empowerment share, because as I am feeling more comfortable with sharing my information, it is building up my support system. And initially, I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I still, to this moment, have not said to my mother face to face, I'm HIV positive, and that's for multiple reasons. However, being in this wonderful world of HIV for the past 5 years, I understand the importance of us raising our voice to silence stigma. We want to be louder than stigma so that people feel comfortable to go and to their healthcare providers. They feel comfortable to go to their people that they consider to be their support system. Christie's Place was established in 1996, right? So before it was established, Christy Bilton Torres at the age of 20 was diagnosed with HIV. She went to her support system, her family, and they disowned her. So we want to, we want to prevent things like that from happening for others that are living in the shoes that we are living in. So yeah, we just have to be, it's important that we are loud to our support systems, to our providers, to know that regardless of what color we are, what gender we are, you recognize that we're human beings too, and we deserve the support that is needed so that we can maintain our health.
Thank you. So I want to ask again a question that wasn't discussed, and anyone feel free to answer this question. Why is it that you think that Black women living with HIV have not been given continuous platforms or space in which to share stories, which to promote a more heightened level of awareness? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Or do you think you've been given the opportunity? Or do you think Black women have been given an opportunity to do so?
I would like to take the answer on that. And I would like to say being trans and being a trans woman, a trans experience, it's a lot of reasons. Number one, you're going to have to say Christian. Number two, in the Black community, we know everything is about the Bible Belt, and it's shameful for someone to say that you have HIV or that you have AIDS, because the first thing associated with is that you're a whore, a prostitute. Can I be very candid here? Or do I have to, I can't? Okay, I'm good. Okay. So, and the typical family, like when Jen was saying about not telling her mom, and it's a reason why she hasn't, because back in the day, the Black mother and the Black woman were supposed to be seen and not heard. You're not supposed to be spoken to or spoken about or outspoken. But at the end of the day, when we realized that this was a man's world, period, right down to every law that is made, right down to every decision that is made, just like to the point of them trying to, take a woman's reproductive rights. That's my body, not yours. But once again, it's all man driven and it's all man based. Even Christianity, and no matter what your denomination is, it's always man based because man came first. Who's to say man really came first? But we're not going to go there. I'm just saying, because behind every man, there's always that good woman. So who actually is really, the strength of a man? And I want to answer the intersectional thing about being trans Latinx and being trans and coming into these doctor's offices in these spaces. We have these spaces as being Black and brown people, but they're not accommodating. They'll laugh at us. They'll pat us on our back just to pacify us. And I feel that Black women are being pacified. The reason once again, there's no Black forums because it's shameful to the Black community. When the Caucasian community embraces, this is a problem, we need to fix it. But in the Black neighborhoods, in the Black community, no, it's not that. Even in the Latinx community, it's just not the same.
All right, and I'm gonna add a follow-up, and again, for anyone to add to answer. What more should be or could be done to mitigate that, to give Black women more opportunities to be in the space where they, one, feel safe to do it, and have the community and backing to do it?
This is Tia speaking. My diagnosis came at the age of 30 in 2001. So it's going on 23 years this year. For me, being in this community, as Mazana stated, it's a man's world, one. So for us as women, we are in everyone's community as that support, but as the lead, when we take that position, it becomes struggle. It's like our voices shouldn't be heard at that point, but a lot of the backbone of the community is Black women, I truly believe. And once we are healed and made whole, the community is healed and made whole. So for me, in this space, we have to create it. We can't sit back and ask for it and wait for somebody to give it to us. We have to take that stance on our own and work with other women and other organizations without any, I would say, without any competition. It shouldn't be a competition competing with someone else. That's what we are doing with the men or other communities within this space. So the competition in comparing, the comparison, it allows us to still be in this position that we're in. But I can say, as of September, when it was at USCHA, when the focus was Black women, love letter to Black women, I saw more of a loving camaraderie with the women in that space. And since then, I've been experiencing that here in Atlanta with the women organizations coming together more and saying, what can we do and collaborate more as sisters. So I believe it's up to us to carve out that path and that place for ourselves and not wait for anyone to give it to us. Instead of following the epidemic, we need to be ahead of it. And the majority of the time, the women are ahead of it. So let's come together and write this plan out and move forward on what we could do, because there's so much greatness within us, within all of our communities, that we can make this change happen and be more meaningful and impactful, not just for women, but for everyone that's in this ease.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, Tia. Any others want to contribute to that? Great points.
I just want to contribute a little bit, only because thinking of this question as an SDSU student that is currently in a women's sexuality and body class. So we're learning about just really how women for some time now have, I hesitate to say the word, kind of been dogged, short end of the stick. We're not the priority. And this has been, even since slavery, women were discounted in so many different ways. Black women, I'll say, discounted in so many different ways. And after year, century, it's to the point where, unfortunately, it's somewhat in the DNA of society. So with that, it's important that we understand it is going to be difficult, as we continue raising our voices as Black women that live on this planet. However, that does not mean it's not possible, but it's just important to remember that, from colonialization way back when, they were looking at us like we really weren't much. We were just the baby makers and things like that. So how us as women are viewed, now here we are trying to come up in the forefront, and we have this resistance because of what people really believe where the women belong. So I'm just grateful that we're all here to prove them wrong on that, because like I've said, anything that happened before or was established before COVID-19 really needs to be updated and changed.
Thank you. Ms. Green, I saw your hand up earlier. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Just like Manzana said, just like Jen said, we have been oppressed. We're just coming through to, gain our power here. Coming from slavery, being, being women, we're have dealt with sexism. Being Black women, dealing with racism and discrimination. Trans women, transphobia. We have all these isms that have been in the way. We have not been at the table. We were never there early on. We have had to force our way at tables. And it's funny that we, as far as Black women, have led most of the things that have made the changes in this country. But yet we have, we're not allowed to, be seen as leaders. We're allowed to push and lead for everyone else and fight for everybody else's causes. But then when it comes to our own, who is having our back? And we have to get at these tables. And if we're not allowed, we have to, like many have said, we have to start making our own tables. We have to get together and as Black women, and we have to push for these changes that were not there before. We are trying to we're making some progress now, but paternalism is still a strong factor in this country, in this world, period. And so we have to fight for what we want. We have to have unity amongst women, and we have to get in there and fight for what we want.
There are so many things that I got out of that, Ms. Green. I've got two questions that I'm going to draw upon based upon your response, and it all deals with the table. All right, question number one, directed at anyone. What do you say to those who are at the table, who, whether purposely or intentionally, have not provided the spaces or not have taken much consideration for the voices of Black women living with HIV? So that's question one. And then I'm gonna follow up with another question. Anybody want to take that? What do you say to those at the table who may be in position of decision makers, or maybe those decision makers? Mm-hmm.
I say don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. I've been seeing, this diversity, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, over and over and over again the last few years. But, sadly, it's been a lot more talk than a lot more action about it. And we need to hold these people accountable. Make sure that we're seeing is diversity here at this table. And if it's not, these people need to be called forward, and they need to be held accountable for not for speaking and saying that they want this, but for actually they need to show this. And so as clients or as employees or whoever we are that has connection to these organizations, we need to somehow call them out, and it can be, it's gonna, of course, be a challenge because some people would be scared to challenge the status quo, but you have to. If you don't, nothing is ever going to change. And then not only that, we have to gain momentum from other women in order to get their backing to challenge these people and say, hey, look, you need more diversity in here. You're not you talk a good game, but you're not walking the walk.
Thank you. Jen, Ms. Jen?
And I just want to piggyback off of that and say that in love, ask. We have not, because we ask not. Ask, hey, if you, especially if it's a organization that you believe in, there's a table, you believe in what is on that table, and you see that we are missing, reach out, ask, hey, you know what? I'm interested in what you're doing. I see this is what you have going on. Can we figure out a way to add, and enhance, because that's all us beautiful Black women do, is enhance the lives of these people out here, So, hey, can I come to the table? Let's see what we can do to make a huge difference, especially since like USCHA and a lot of other things are actually recognizing, no, Black women are the bomb. Hello. So let's utilize that so that it not only benefits your organization, myself, but anyone else that is looking at what you're doing.
Perfect. And that is a great segue to this next question, this follow-up question I have. And I would like for Ms. Manzana, Tia, or Andrea to chime in on that. And the other two ladies, you can as well. What does that table of Black cisgender and transgender women look like? What does that look like?
When you say what does it look like, are you wanted to know how diverse it needs to be, or
Diversity, tell me about initiatives, planning, like vision. What does that look like?
Okay, first it needs to look like sisters, because we all are sisters that could get along with one another and not pull each other hair out, first of all. That's what it needs to be. And then it needs to be where I'm not arguing with you, you're not arguing with me. We all about one goal. It's not about who's the bigger person, who got the more credentials, who got the most education. It's not about any of that. It's about being humans first. That's the first thing we got to do to be at that table. The second thing, the vision of my table would be you have this experience, you have your non-binary experience, you have your cis female, you have your Black female, you have your Latinx female, any Black and brown person of color, even the Asians, you understand, and non-binary and all, because transgender is just an umbrella term. There's so many different of us. Yeah, you can have me here as a transgender, but what about my intersex sister? What about my sister that is two-spirit? What about, all those need to be in that room. And that's how I see it. So if I had to see it and make that table will be composed of about 23 different Black and brown women.
All right, Miss Andrea, excuse me, and Artia. Any thoughts to that?
Okay.
Yeah, I would say in addition to what Mazana stated, diversity, yes, is needed, but also transparency is needed. Truth of the matter is, still within the cisgender world and transgender worlds, there is the divide in regards to even the language. There's a divide with the acronyms. There's a divide with funding. So the first thing we need to do is come ready to, in a mature state of mind, not to argue about, I say, some of those things opposed to the larger agenda, which we all agree on, because we're going to always have our differences, but what is it that we do agree on that we want to work towards to make effective and impactful change? So if we start within each other, the trans and the cisgender women together, of working through and those things, as we know that there's been differences and that there's not always everyone get along. That's across the board in this world, period. We don't get along with all of our family members at all times. So when we work through these issues that we have and come to a place where we that we all agree upon, because we're not agree upon everything, that we all agree upon, and we move forward in love instead of this in a combative way, and come with non-resistance, come with our prejudices or our judgments or preconceived notions ahead of time. If we leave all of that outside the door, when we walk in the room, come in with that open heart, ready to make effective change, we can do that. We will be able to do that.
What I
Thank
found
you.
for years is that we have a lot of women who are for themselves. So it keeps the division because it's about me. It's not about we. As a group, we should be working together. I have been positive since 1993. So I was a part of a group of women who started an organization called Life Force. And what we did was we went out into the street and we educated the community. We handed out condoms, we went to people's homes, we went to clinics, anywhere, and we talked about HIV. Not necessarily saying I'm positive, but we all were, but educating the community. And nobody was climbing on anybody's shoulders trying to climb out of that barrel and get over and be the best. We work together. That's the problem. We're not working together. And it kind of made me step out of the HIV arena because of what I saw. Nobody wanted to work together. So that's why we're not at the table, because we're trying to climb on each other.
Ooh, and I'm just gonna piggyback off of that, and say that we have to be the ones to set the example. Because before we were HIV positive, we were living our lives as we were. We were who we were. So if you were the bomb at what you did in your career before you have HIV, received the HIV diagnosis, you're still the same after. And what I've learned firsthand is that's not always well received from our colleagues, but that's okay. You know, it's teaching me how to push through that adversity and be resilient. If that's what it is, you know, be resilient no matter what, because just as Ms. Andrea said, that can weigh, I'll say it, that'll weigh, be a toll on you. You trying to work with somebody and they're giving you a hard time when, like, we're supposed to be in this together. We're supposed to be helping each other together. It doesn't matter what I do and what I don't know. You know, the fact of the matter is we have the same shoes on and we're trying to support and uplift other women. So.
Ms. Green?
I actually just had this conversation with the women in the women's group that I am in and lead. I sometimes send them texts, and in my statement for that is that we need to complement each other instead of compete against each other. There's a whole larger world out here that's had greater benefit for us for a long time, while we've been down at the bottom getting crumbs, and so it's definitely no need to be competing against each other, because we already have it hard enough out here against the larger world. And as recently, like I told, the women, we need to be working together to get things done. Actually, in our group right now, we were at AIDS Watch and everything, and one of the panel, on the panel, there were and I would say this, as a provider, I am that person with the alphabets behind my name, but we need both. We need all of that. We need to uplift, because even as a before I was positive, I was even being discriminated against and belittled, even with the degrees behind my name, just because I'm a Black woman. So we need both to be pushing for us. We need I feel like in my position, I've been trying to push as far as being a provider and being and seeing things in discrimination and seeing those things when I was in school, seeing those things being in healthcare. And then I became a woman with HIV, and then I experienced it myself. We need those stories. We need the lived experience. We need those Black women professionals. We need representation, and everywhere we go. And just like Manzana said, we need that representation to see whatever we are, we should be able to go to and see that.
Great point. And I'm gonna follow up with that, Ms. Green. How do we go about increasing representation among Black women living with HIV? And how do you envision that representation will enhance awareness, policy, and support for Black women, Black and brown women living with HIV. So how do
For
we go about
me-
increasing representation? Anyone who would like to answer?
For me, what I would say is with intention and sincerity, locking arms with someone and saying, come on, let's go, let's do this. You know, just showing them that, first of all, someone has to feel like they're supported, even if it's by one person. You know, come on, let's do this. I know this is your experience, negative things, or you're not doing so well, but that does not matter. The whole idea is I want to uplift you like I was uplifted. You know, so you literally sometimes you gotta be physically, come on, let's do this. And you just encourage and be of support, even when they're nervous and scared.
And this question, thank you, is open to any of member of the panel. Can you talk about a moment in your journey that exemplifies resilience and empowerment in the face of adversity? And how do you cultivate these qualities in yourself and in others?
You repeat that one more
Absolutely. So,
time, please?
yeah, can you talk about a moment or an
Can you
aspect
hear
of
me?
your journey? Yeah, I can. Can you hear me as well? Okay, Ms. Green, I can see your hand up. We're going to come to you first, but I'm just going to repeat the
Yes.
question. Can you talk about a moment or aspect of your journey that exemplifies resilience and empowerment in the face of adversity? And how do you cultivate these qualities in yourself and in others? Ms. Green.
Just alone when I was diagnosed and my parents were told that I may not even live, you know, just getting through that and thinking that I was gonna die, and then being here today. That alone is resilience. When I first was diagnosed, going through depression, going through anxiety, in hiding, all those things, and you know, just the shame, feeling guilt, and overcoming those things and being here now. Basically, like what we're doing now is meeting here and telling these stories so that those who feel like where we were then can know that we got through those and they can as well. So that alone is resilient and trying to lift other people, you know, and resiliency as well.
Great points.
For me, I started out when I first found out I was diagnosed, telling people because I had to. I needed to talk about it. And maybe it wasn't the people that would help me, but I still needed to share. So what I did was I found these support groups all over the place, and I just started attending them and building on what I already knew, getting information from them. And then I went into work as a case manager with newly diagnosed HIV positive people and sharing my story. And my story helped so many young girls at the time, because when I was first diagnosed, there was a lot of women who were becoming positive. But I don't necessarily think it was a lot of women. It was just that they were going to the doctor where the men weren't. And they were coming in feeling like they were about to just die because of the fact they were positive. How am I going to feed my kids? What am I going to do? One, my husband gave me HIV and I didn't know, and he died, and I found out when he died. And just telling the story and saying, look, if I can do this and still survive and still keep doing more and more and more, you can too. Your story helps people. So my story also helped a lot of people. I did a movie called Life Support in 2007. And it's based on my life and my story. And I had so many people come to me and tell me that that movie helped them. They showed it to their kids, they showed it to their parents, and it gave a real vision of what life with HIV is. It's like everybody else's. It's life. We still live, we still breathe. I've actually gone to back to school twice since I've been positive. I got my BA, I got my MA. You can do it.
Thank you. These are all very inspirational. And speaking of which, what are your hopes, inspirations, and aspirations of for Black women who are living with HIV? Black and brown women living with HIV.
My hope is that they keep living. You know, because you get a diagnosis doesn't mean you're dying. You gotta live, you gotta survive, you gotta keep doing what you gotta do. I've seen people who just say, well, okay, I'm positive, I'm gonna sit here and get my Social Security and die because that's what I'm gonna do. That's not gonna help you, because when you're sitting at home and doing nothing, it makes your life miserable. You have to find your self-worth. Who am I? What am I? What can I do? You can do so much. I've gone from Social Security to actually having a salary, a job. I'm sitting in my office now. I'm a special education teacher. I work with kids who have disabilities, and I love it. And it keeps me going every day. As long as you have something to keep you going, you're good. Life moves on. I'm over 60 now. You know, when I was first diagnosed, I was 30 something years old. You can do it.
Ms. Tia, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
I have one. I would like to say,
Um,
go ahead, Tia.
Can you all hear me? Yes. My hope for women is to do the introspective work, knowing who you are and your worth and your value and what it is that you offer. The diagnosis, I always say that how you felt about the diagnosis prior to your diagnosis is how you're going to make your moves moving into this world. So once you become educated and informed and get to know more about what this disease is that's living in your body, then you can get better control over how you make your moves and how you make your, for like Miss Andrea said, it's a process, but you can move forward. So once you get, whether it's counseling or going through trauma healing, that thing is, if somatic movement move the trauma out of your body. A lot of times we don't realize that those things are the very thing that hold us back and from moving forward, the fear of what people will say about us. But once you get a hold of who you are and whose you are, your value, your purpose, as she stated, she's sitting in that classroom right now. That wasn't what she thought she was going to be doing years ago, and she's happy in that. It brings her great joy. So the very thing that we're looking for is not outside of us, it's within us. So once you know what it is that you was created to be here to do and give back to others in service, you're solving a problem, that something that makes you angry. That's that thing that gives you that drive, that passion and compassion for others. So whether it's in the HIV field or not, that's the thing you should do that's going to give you life. And also you can advocate for yourself and learn more about this disease and not just receive what the providers tell you because they have the background and have, as Ms. Green says, those letters behind their names. But you are the one that have the personal experience with this disease. They don't know what's going on with us until we tell them. That's any provider, that's for any disease, that's for anything that we go to the doctor for. They can't diagnose us unless we tell them what's going on, as she stated. They can't do it. So they have to hear it from us. So knowing that you are the one that's in control and running this wheel, and the doctors work along with you. my experience of living with this virus in my body has taught me how to take better care of myself. And that just because someone is at the hospital, that they know about this. If this is not their specialty, they don't know very much. They have very little training. They get very few hours when it comes to HIV and AIDS. Very few hours. So I use it as an opportunity to teach anybody in that space about what's going on with me, so they can take care of not just me while I'm there, but others that's coming behind me. So when I will hope that you know that you are in control. Is not, it doesn't have to be a death sentence. The death sentence starts up here. What's going on in our mind? How you think, if you think negative thoughts, negativity is going to come your way. If you think positive thoughts, you're going to get more positive results come your way. So just know what we speak out of our mouth and put in the atmosphere, you're speaking that over your life. So speak good things, because good things can happen for you. They will happen for you. And as these women on this panel have said, you can see it within all of us. You can get there. So my aspiration is for all women to know that you matter, you're valuable, and your voice matters. So use it. Whether it's, are you fearful, still use it, because the more you do it, the better you'll get at speaking up for yourself and advocating for yourself.
And I would like to say, to sum that all up, what she just said, is that my mom told me a long time ago when I first started out into the world, or into however you want to put it, whatever your belief system is. My mom believed this one thing, and the one thing my mom believed was, she always said, God created you, and what God created, he does not make mistakes, and he does not make junk. So if you got contracted with HIV, or you got contracted with anything or any disease, any of this stuff that's man created, just know that you are beautiful, you're brown, you're black, and God loves all of us. And we're perfect just the way we are.
Wonderful. Thank you. And all beautifully said. Very powerful, very impactful messages. We're coming up on the end. And so I would like to hear from each member of our panel. Two-part question. One, at this time, given the space where you are in now, what is the one word that you will use to describe yourself? How are you feeling? Where you are? And the other is, what makes you resilient? So if we can spend about a minute or so having each panel member to answer that question, that'll be great. First question is, what word would you use to describe where you are, the space that you are in now, and what makes you resilient?
So
I would like to start. I would like to say outer space.
So first, Asana, and then Andrea.
Okay. I would like to say outer space. And when I say outer space, it goes back to trans quantum questioning. Because if you quantum within yourself and the energy that you throw into yourself, then those questions that you have does not exist. So yeah, outer space is first.
And then the last question is, what makes you resilient?
What makes me resilient is that I'm 51 years old, about to be 52. I was diagnosed in 2008, and I am non-viral for the last 10 years. So yeah, I think I have resilience, and I'm adherent to my medication. So yes, big ups.
okay, for me,
Wonderful.
I feel encouraged. So that's my word, encouraged. And resilience. Shoot, I've been positive 31 years. I'm resilient, and I'm not going anywhere. And not from HIV anyway, maybe something else, but definitely not HIV. And my mother keeps me going. She gives me my resilience. She's 88, still with us, still feisty. And I have to look at that and say, wow, if she can do it, I can do it.
Okay, Ms. Jen. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. So my one word shall always be courageous. And just so we know the definition, not deterred by danger or pain, being brave. I was that way before I received my diagnosis. So it's just, okay, let's just add this on there too. What keeps me resilient is, and an easier way to say a song that says, hold on to God's unchanging hands. If anyone knows that song, yeah, time is swift with transition and we get tossed and turned. But for me personally, based on the things that have been instilled in me through my grandmommy initially and on forward through life, is that believing and trusting in God. People take that saying, God's not going to put more on you than you can handle. However, even if he does, I know that he's got me. And if I just need a little bit of a mustard seed, little bit of faith and trust that he's going to get me through according to his will, not mine. So my job is to stand up as tall as I can, set that example, and keep pushing.
Thank you so much, Ms. Green. And then we're gonna have Tia end with hers, and then we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Ms. Green, please.
I know this is gonna sound a little cynical, but pissed. And I have to get the context behind that. Because if anybody attended that Black women's session with me at AIDS Watch, I did go into description of the situation I'm going through right now. Our women's group here, our positive women's group here in Indiana, we had an in-person, besides the one I have, it's just like monthly online, but we had an in-person group, and we have not been able to meet and haven't had our women's group in like a year. And they said because of funding. And between that time, they said they were bringing the group back. They said they were bringing our facilitator back, and they kind of tried to trick us. They tried to have our facilitator to pay her 3 times less than what she was getting paid, and say, we want you as an ambassador, and we want you to call the women to come in. Then once we go in, where our support group is going to be run by people who are not positive. I said, no way, and I'm not for that. I literally went in that day that we were supposed to have that group, and I said, I'm going in there and I'm going to tell them what I have to say about that. And I went in and literally spoke up in that meeting and with leadership there, and told them, no way, I am not. I have said multiple times, as well as the other women are in, and also in congruence with me, that we do not want to attend positive women support groups that are not run and led by positive women, period. And so I was told by a couple of people, well, you need to pick and choose your battles. And I said, well, I'm about to start a war. And while at AIDS Watch, I typed up a letter who I also brought into my representative. I typed up the letter that I gave to multiple organizations and the people who are at AIDS Watch about our situation that we are going to gain support behind this issue. MIPA, meaningful involvement with people living with HIV and AIDS, lived experience should be respected, and it's not being. And we're being disrespected, I feel, to be told this and be tricked into attending groups that are not led by women who are HIV positive. And when I was lastly say this while attending, some of the women even gave me insight. Like someone said, who has cancer would want to attend a meeting that's not led by women who have cancer? Who would be wanting to attend a prostate cancer group who is not led or, by a person who has prostate cancer, who has not gone through those experiences? Nobody can tell me what I am going through or my life who is not HIV positive, an HIV positive woman, and specifically a Black HIV positive woman, unless it's someone like me. So that's why I'm pissed.
We got a lot of head nodding here in agreement too. Wow. Wow. All I can say with that statement, that's a lot going on in there. And unfortunately, very sad. Ms. Tia. Thank you, Andrea. Ms. Ms. Tia.
I too thought courageous. I was struggling with that and going back and forth with courageous and bodacious. So I will say bodacious right now. And that is because I feel that I'm in a place within myself that I'm okay with what I'm deciding for me and not worrying about what other people's expectations are of me and from me are. So I'm moving in boldness. I'm in my own authority with the authority of my Heavenly Father, making these kingdom moves. I'm a kingdom ambassador first. So for me, I would say bodacious, and by having the support of my family, because my family, I've heard so many unfortunate experiences by so many ladies on here today. I had the support of my biological family, my nucleus family, and my church family. So everyone around me showed me love. So I always state that I was loved back to health. And because of that, because I have that support, I can stand tall and be bold in this moment and seize this opportunity and not let it go away without, as Ms. Green stated, you can't have people making decisions at the table of that experience. We have to be there. And if we're not there, we create our own. I'm not waiting on them to invite me in. We create our own and make sure that we have a combination of people within our group, like you said, to do policy that have, experience in all areas so that we can be really impactful without delay, because the time is now for us to move forward and create those changes that we want to see, because we're being it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, ladies. As our time comes to a close, I would like to say, on behalf of Ribbon, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to each of you for sharing your stories, for sharing your journeys and your thoughts and aspirations, and how your stories are not just narratives of survival. To our audience who will be watching or is watching, thank you for joining in. So ladies, with that, I just want to say thanks to all of you for your time, again, for sharing your stories. And Ribbon looks forward to continuing a relationship and moving some of the narrative that we talked about during this discussion. So many thanks to you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. It's been a
It
pleasure.
was our pleasure. It was indeed an honor
Thank
to share the space.
you.